everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Madeline and I create crafting content here on YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make these really adorable return address labels. And what I love about this project is that you don't need a color printer. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to cut into each one of these address labels and create these fun little designs. That way the envelope color can shine through. So I'm going to take you through all the steps from printing out and formatting my actual address labels to then loading the designs into Cricut Design Space and cutting them out on my Cricut Maker. So for this one, I went for just some initials. So I think that would be really cute for just everyday return address labels or wedding invitations. That would be adorable. And then for this one, I used one of the free designs in Cricut Design Space as well. So I'll show you each of these designs and how I achieved them. So let's get started. So first, just starting off with the return address label sheets that I use. So if you want to, you could cut the shape out on the Cricut Maker. I prefer to just buy these pre-made sheets though. It's a little hard to get the lines to show up. But basically the sheets I buy are the ones where it's 10 labels by 3 labels, so 30 labels per sheet. This is the Amazon brand right here, so you can see there really aren't any labels on it. But it matches up with these Avery labels, which I've also purchased before and work really well. So these ones in particular are the Avery 5960, and again, 10 labels by 3 labels, 30 labels per sheet. So those are my favorite ones to use. So the first step in the process is just going to be to print out the labels. So the way I like to make my label sheets is I actually just use the built-in Word function. So first I'm going to go to Mailings and then click on this Labels button. And here you can see it gives me the option to type in the address. So I'm gonna just make up an address here. So let's say that was your address. Then you can see the label option here. I have Microsoft 30 per page address label. If you have a different thing, you can just change it in here. I just select the 30 per page one. And then you can either do the full page of the same label or do a single label. I'm gonna click OK. And you can see it just formatted that for me. So now what I want to do is, because I like to put the cutout over here on this left-hand side of each label, I want to move this text over to the right side of each label. So I'm going to hit the Tab button, and I like to hit it twice for each line. It really depends on how long your name and street address are, how far you can go. And then I like to center this a little bit more in the middle of the label. So I'm going to do Shift Enter to move it down. And then I'm going to make this top line size 5 instead. Okay, so now that one looks perfectly formatted just the way I want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that one and I'm going to paste it in each one of these other cells. And sometimes you have to play around with the formatting a little bit. But now I'm going to go all the way through this sheet, or you can just do it for how many labels you need, and I'm just going to reformat this one. So now I'm all done formatting this page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my printer and I'm going to print this out directly onto one of my label sheets. Now, if you do want to download this exact template, I'll have this available on my website. That way, if you want to use this exact same formatting that I used, you could just insert your name and address into these labels. So check my website for this template. So again, now I'm just going to go print this one out. The next thing I do is I find a blank template that's actually the exact size of my labels. So as I mentioned, I'm using the Avery 5960 template. So I'm just going to search that, and then I go to the one on the Avery website. And here you can just download it as a PDF. So I'm going to go with this PDF option and then download the template. And you can just download it as a guest. So now what I want to do is I want to get this PDF open in Cricut Design Space. But Cricut Design Space doesn't let you import PDFs. So what I have to do is I have to resave this document from a PDF to a JPEG file. So the way I do that is I use a Mac, so I use a software called GIMP, and that's basically like Paint for a Mac. If you use Windows though, I would just open this PDF in Paint and then resave it as a JPEG. So all I do is I just open up the document in GIMP, and then I go to File, Export As, and down here you can select file type and make it a JPEG. And I'm going to name it the exact same thing, just with JPEG at the end. So now what I want to do is I want to open Cricut Design Space and I want to upload that image of the outline of all the labels. So I'm just going to go to Upload, Upload Image, browse for my file. And now you can really select any of these because we aren't going to select anything over there. I'm just going to go with Simple. Continue. That looks good. Don't have to click anything. Then click Continue again. And I'm just gonna save as a print, then cut image. Save it. Now I wanna insert that image. And there it is. So now you see when it inserts though, it doesn't insert to the correct page size. So my page size is 8.5, and then it should scale to 11. So that looks perfect. It's now 8.5 by 11. And I like to position mine at 0, 0. Okay, so now we aren't actually going to use this. We're going to hide this template at the end right before we actually cut it on the maker. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this as my guidelines for where to put each one of the shapes. So first let me show you that initials one. So all I do is I do text. There's my text there. And you can, again, change the font or anything like that. I'm just going to make mine a little bit smaller. And then let's put that one right there. I'm gonna put it right in the middle of that 1 inch line. So that looks perfect. And now I can duplicate that. So over here on the right-hand side, I'm just gonna select duplicate. I'm gonna make a full row of these. And then I'm gonna click all of them. I like to just double check that I got them all in the same spot. So I'm gonna align top, and then I'm gonna group them all over here on the right-hand side. Now, if I wanted to do more of these ones, I could just click on it and then hit duplicate. That'll automatically set me up to be able to do row after row. So it makes it really quick and easy. Now, if I wanted to do the shapes instead, I'm just gonna go to Images. I did the heart, and this was the one I used over here, one of these free designs. So I select it, insert image, and here I'm just gonna scale it down. And then again, I can duplicate this. Align them all, and group them. So once I finish putting all my designs exactly where I want them, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all of them. Then I'm gonna go to Group over here on the right. So I grouped them all together. And then I'm gonna click Attach. Now, let's say I wanted to begin cutting them. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide this background so I don't actually wanna cut or print this. That just disappeared. And now I'm gonna select Make It. Okay, so this is where it's gonna like automatically go to on your mat. It's gonna go to that upper left-hand corner. So the place I like to align mine at is I like to put my first design in the center of the one line. And it basically makes it so that each one of these goes into the center of each one of these inches. And then I'm gonna move it just over to the right a little bit. So you can see basically the way I do it is I like to line up this middle one with just after or like kind of through that 6th line. And this makes it easier for when I'm actually aligning my labels on my mat. So in front of me, I have my light grip cutting mat, and then here are my printed address labels. And the two things I like to check as I'm putting my address labels onto my sheet is that first, I want to make sure the center of each one of these labels lines up with the inch lines. So remember, we put each one of those designs in the center of the inch in Cricut Design Space. And then the next thing I want to check is that over here on the 6th line, so remember that final cut over here started just before the 6 and then went to after it. So over here, I'm gonna make sure that my 6th line is lined up, and it works out here perfectly because then my design will end up being right here. So those are the two things I like to double check before I begin cutting. So where I placed it in the Cricut design space allows me to then align this address label sheet in the upper left-hand corner of my mat for cutting. Now I'm gonna select continue. Now when selecting a base material, I find the best one to select is the washi tape. And the reason I select that one is because then it doesn't actually cut through the full sticker sheet. It just cuts through that top layer, which is actually the sticker. So it makes them easier to use. So I'm gonna select washi sheet, click done, and I already have my fine point blade in my Cricut. So now I'm just gonna load in my mat and press the start button. So there's one of those labels, and I think it just looks so cute and adds an extra little flair, and they're easy to make. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them down below. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button. That way you stay up to date on all my future videos. I'll see you next time.